Whispers in the void. The galaxy was never silent. Every star system hummed with the voices of countless ships, stations, and empires. There were always messages flying through space trade deals, war threats, cries for help, and the endless chatter of a galaxy that believed it was alive and powerful. But then something changed. Something strange moved in the dark. And for the first time in centuries, silence touched the star's dot. It began far from the center, in the frozen rim of space where only explorers and smugglers dared to go. A small alien scout ship drifted through the shadows, its crew bored in half. Asleep, their mission was routine: scan the edges, watch for pirates, report back. Nothing ever happened out there. At least, nothing was supposed to. But then, the sensors screamed. The captain sat up straight. "What is that?" he asked. His crew stared at the glowing screens, unsure of what they were seeing. A ripple. A disturbance. Something moving, but not in normal space. It was like watching a shadow swim beneath an ocean of stars. "Invisible yet undeniable dot," one of the crew whispered. "It's inside the dark matter." The captain laughed nervously. "Impossible. Nothing can move through that. Nothing can even survive inside it." But then the ship appeared, not with a bright arrival, not with the flash of engines, but with silence. A massive black shape slid out of the void. It had no shining lights, no painted banners, no symbols of empire. It was a warship, but not like any warship the crew had ever seen. Its surface looked like broken glass, as if pieces of the night sky itself had been forged into armor. Stars vanished when it passed, swallowed by its shape. The alien crew froze. Their scanners failed. Their radios cut out. Even their own thoughts seemed heavy in the silence. Then the captain whispered, "Send a message. Now, to the council. Tell them Earth has returned." The message went out, carried on. Desperate beams of light. The warship did not move, did not speak, did not fire. It only watched Dot across the galaxy. The news spread like fire. Dot at first. Many laughed. The Council of Worlds had heard 1,000 false alarms before. "Another ghost story," one ambassador said. "Pirates painting their hulls black," another joked. But some of the oldest empires did not laugh. They remembered. They remembered the humans. Centuries ago, Earth had spoken of strange experiments. Dark matter, they called it the invisible weight that shaped galaxies. While others built fleets of steel and plasma, humans studied the unseen. And then, one day, Earth went quiet. No signals, no trade, no ambassadors. The humans had vanished into their own shadow. Most thought they were gone forever. Some even celebrated their silence. Now, whispers filled the void once more. The scout ship's recording leaked across systems. Aliens watched in fear as the black shape glided across the stars. "It doesn't reflect light," a scientist said. "It consumes it." Another whispered, "It's not a ship. It's a grave." In secret chambers, council leaders argued. Some demanded answers. Others demanded weapons. One old voice warned, "Do not provoke them. If the humans truly command the dark, then no wall, no fleet, no empire will stand. But empires are proud, and fear is often drowned by arrogance." Back on the rim, the scout ship floated powerless. The alien captain stared at the silent warship, filling his view screen. His crew sat pale and trembling, unable to move. Then, slowly, the human ship turned. It did not fire. It did not chase. It only turned, as though to let them live, as though their survival was the true message. The captain shivered. "They want us afraid," he whispered. "They want the galaxy to know." The alien ship's lights flickered, and power returned. Their engines roared back to life, but none of the crew felt safe. None of them felt alive. They knew they had seen something the galaxy was not ready for, something that should never have been woken. Dot As they left the rim, the warship vanished again into the void. No flash, no sound, no trace. Only silence. That night, on 100 worlds, people whispered the same question. Why had the humans returned? Merchants in glowing markets spoke of a fleet hidden in shadows. Soldiers in cold barracks spoke of battles already lost. Children looked to the sky and asked why the stars seemed dimmer. And in the heart of the council, where rulers gathered in anger and fear, the words repeated over and over. Earth's dark matter warships had arrived, and the galaxy was no longer. Laughing, the silence had begun. The fear spreads, the alien scout's message, crossed the galaxy faster than trade routes and war reports. It carried no music, no words of pride, only the trembling voice of one captain and the silent image of a black warship sliding through the stars. At first, many dismissed it. "This is a trick," said the ambassador of the Edrak Combine. "Some pirate lord has painted his ship black and filled it with shadows. Nothing more." "This is panic," muttered the Krell overlord, waving his claws. "Weaklings imagine ghosts when they stare too long into the void." But the image was real. Every scientist who examined the recording agreed. No light reflected. Off that ship, no known material, no known shield could swallow stars so completely. And the longer the galaxy watched the footage, the more they began to feel it, the silence. That crushing, heavy silence. In markets across the spiral arms, merchants stopped trading to stare at projection screens. "What is it?" one asked. "What power hides inside it?" In cold barracks, soldiers whispered while polishing their weapons. "It doesn't even fire," one muttered. "It just watches." "Maybe it doesn't need to fire," children asked their parents why the stars looked dimmer. And no parent had an answer. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Representatives of 50 empires shouted over one another. Some demanded immediate war fleets. Others called for secret negotiations. But one voice cut through the noise, the voice of the old Varick chancellor. Her scales faded, her eyes blind with age. "You do not understand," she hissed. "This is not the first time. The humans warned us long ago." The chamber fell. Quiet, the chancellor told them of records buried in the past. She had read them as a young scholar, before the archives were sealed. Earth had spoken, centuries ago, of bending the unseen weight of the universe dark matter. At the time, other races mocked them. Dark matter could not be touched, they said. It was only theory, only shadows. Yet Earth had insisted. We will shape the silence. We will command what others cannot see. And then the humans had disappeared. Now their return spread fear like fire through dry grass. Entire colonies whispered that the humans had been building a fleet, hidden not in space, but in the invisible currents of dark matter itself. Why come back now? Asked the Drazar admiral, her spine stiff with unease. If they wished for peace, they would have spoken. If they wished for war, they would have struck. Instead, they appear and watch. That is worse, much worse. Her words unsettled even the bravest warriors in the chamber. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting far from the council, the warlords of the largest empire gathered. Their voices were sharp, filled with arrogance to cover their unease. "They want us afraid," said one. "So let us answer with strength." "Our fleets outnumber anything the humans can muster," growled another. "Even if they built in the shadows, they cannot face the galaxy united." But not all agreed. A silent commander finally spoke. His eyes were hollow, his voice thin. "You fools," he whispered. "The galaxy united cannot fight what it cannot see." His words were ignored. Across star systems, fleets began to move. Not toward war, but toward defense. Borders lit up with patrols. Old weapons were dragged out of storage. Shield designs were tested and tested again. Everyone prepared, but no one admitted why. Fear. Yet still, no human spoke. Not a word. Not a signal. Only the shadow of that black ship replayed on every channel, every screen, haunting the galaxy like a ghost. On the far rim, where the scout ship had first seen the warship, something new stirred. More ripples. More disturbances. A mining station near a dead star recorded it first space bending, as though invisible waves were spreading. Then 3 ships appeared, silent and black, their surfaces jagged like broken night. They did not fire. They did not speak. They simply hovered, watching. The miners fled. Their screams filled the comms. They're here. More of them. They're multiplying. The recordings raced back to the council, sparking new panic. This was no isolated ship. This was a fleet dot in the council chamber. The arguments grew louder. Attack now, before they spread. Shouted one. Wait, wait, and watch. Cried another, but fear had already spread too far. Across the galaxy, ordinary people began to believe a single truth. Earth had not disappeared. Earth had been waiting in the silence. Back on the scout ship that had seen the first warship, the captain could not sleep. He stared at the stars, remembering how the black shape had turned its gaze upon him, how it had allowed him to live. He felt no relief in that mercy. Instead, he felt hunted. They wanted us to see, he whispered to himself. They wanted the galaxy afraid. He looked at the stars again, and thought they looked dimmer, as if the night itself was swallowing them, one by one dot, and deep in the void, far from every eye. The dark matter fleets stirred once more. The silence was growing. The first encounter the galaxy could no longer ignore it. What began as a whisper was now a storm. 3 ships had appeared near the rim, then 5 more near a mining world. Then entire formations sliding out of the dark like shadows given shape. No signals, no demands, only silence. The council declared an emergency. Armies were ordered to move. For the first time in centuries, rival empires worked together. Fear had bound them stronger than treaties ever had. And so, a coalition fleet was gathered. At the heart of that fleet was Admiral Corrin of the Zaylan Dominion, a warrior, proud and ruthless. His ship bristled with weapons, and his fleet stretched across the void cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and drones, all humming with power. 30,000 vessels answered his command. Today, Corrin announced, his voice booming through the fleet comms, we will end this ghost story. Humans are not gods. They are not shadows. They are flesh and blood, like us. And we will remind them. His soldiers cheered. Across the ships, alien crews roared with courage, though fear still clung to their hearts. The meeting place was chosen. A quiet system at the edge of council space, with a single dying star and empty planets circling in silence. It was there the dark matter warship waited. 1. Only 1 dot, it floated in the black, still and silent, as the massive coalition fleet dropped. Out of warp around it, thousands of ships, weapons glowing, engines burning bright against one silent shadow. Transmit, Admiral Corrin ordered. Tell them to surrender. The message went out. It carried across the system in every language, a demand sharp with arrogance. The warship gave no answer. Fire warning shots, Corrin growled. Missiles streaked through space. Plasma cannons blazed. Explosions lit the void, shaking the dying star itself. For a moment, courage surged through the coalition. They saw fire. They saw power. But when the light faded, the warship remained. Not a single mark on its black hull. The weapons had passed through it, as though it were made of smoke. The crews fell silent. Then the warship moved. It did not rush. It did not roar. It simply flickered. One moment it was there. The next it blurred, half vanishing, as if slipping between worlds. Suddenly it appeared inside the Coalition's formation, among the cruisers. Admiral Corrin shouted orders. "Open fire! All ships open! Fire now!" The Coalition unleashed its fury. Lasers, torpedoes, railguns, fusion lances, every weapon known to the galaxy. Space burned with light and fire. But the dark matter warship did not dodge. It did not block. It let the weapons strike. And still, nothing touched it. The shots bent. The beams scattered. The missiles vanished as if swallowed by the void itself. Then the warship struck back. No bright cannons. No fire. Only silence. A ripple spread from the black ship. A wave that twisted through the fleet. The nearest cruisers shattered instantly, breaking apart without flame, without sound. One moment they existed. The next they were gone, dust and drifting wreckage. Panic erupted. Shields failing. Screamed one captain. "Weapons offline!" Cried another. The ripple spread wider. Entire formations collapsed. Carriers vanished into nothingness. Drones flickered out like sparks dying in the wind. Admiral Corrin's voice roared through the chaos. "Hold your ground. Keep firing. Do not retreat." But his orders were swallowed by fear. His fleet, so proud, so vast, was breaking apart in silence. And then it stopped. The warship drifted again, silent, untouched, among the wreckage of 30,000 ships. Not one weapon fired now. Not one voice dared speak. On Admiral Corrin's flagship, terror held the bridge. His officers stared at the screens, their eyes wide. Why? Why did it stop? One whispered. Corrin clenched his fists. His pride burned, but even he felt the weight of that silence pressing on his chest. He looked at the black ship and four. The first time in his life, he knew what defeat felt like. "They're not here to win battles," he said quietly. "They're here to remind us who holds the void." Across the galaxy, the recording of that battle spread. The Coalition fleet 30,000 strong destroyed in minutes by one ship. A ship that did not speak. A ship that barely moved. Every world, in every empire, the whispers grew louder. The humans had returned. The humans had bent the darkness itself to their will. Merchants whispered it while closing their shops. Soldiers muttered it while sharpening their blades. Even rulers spoke it behind closed doors, voices shaking. And children looked to the stars with wide eyes and asked a question their parents could not answer. If one ship can do this, how many more are waiting? In the ruins of the dead system, Admiral Corrin's flagship limped away, one of the few survivors. His pride was gone, crushed beneath silence. His final message to the Council echoed across the stars. They cannot be fought. Not with weapons, not with fleets. We have awakened the dark. Can the humans command it? The galaxy trembled. The silence was spreading. The War Council shakes the galaxy had seen many wars. Empires had risen and fallen. Fleets had clashed by. The thousands and entire planets had burned. But never, never in all of history had the galaxy seen 30,000 warships, destroyed in silence by only one. The survivors limped back to the Council, their ships broken, their crews trembling. They carried no trophies, no victory, only fear. And with them came the recordings images of the dark matter warship sliding through fleets like a shadow, untouchable, unstoppable. The Council chamber, a vast circle of stone and light floating. Above a gas giant, filled with voices. 50 empires gathered, each shouting louder than the last. The sound of fear was deafening. "This is war," cried the Krell overlord, his claws slamming against the marble floor. "If we do not strike now, they will come for us one by one. We must unite every fleet." "Fool," snapped the Varick Chancellor, her scaled face calm but her voice sharp. "As a blade, did you not see? Your fleets mean nothing. Your weapons mean nothing. Strike if you wish, but you will strike at shadows. Others joined, their voices rising like waves. They cannot be gods. Then explain the silence. Perhaps the recording is false. False? I lost 3 sons in that fleet. The chamber boiled with fury and despair. Some called for peace. Some demanded weapons. Some shouted that humanity should be hunted down, wiped out before their shadow fleets grew stronger. Then the chamber doors opened. A survivor entered, Admiral Corin. His once golden armor was cracked, his proud shoulders bent. He walked slowly to the center of the council floor, his steps echoing like thunder. The voices fell silent, one by one, until only his ragged breathing remained. He raised his eyes. I led 30,000 ships, he said. His voice shook, but he did not hide it. I faced 1 human warship. 30,000 against 1. You know the outcome. You have seen the recordings. I tell you this now. They cannot be fought. Gasps filled the chamber. They cannot be fought, he repeated. Their ships are not made of steel. They are not. Bound by light, they move inside the darkness itself. Our weapons pass through them. Our shields crumble before them. They strike without sound. They erase without flame. They are not at war. They are demonstrating. Demonstrating what? One counselor asked in a trembling voice. That they are beyond us, Corin said. A silence heavier than stone filled the chamber. Even the Overlord, who moments ago had demanded war, could not find his voice. Finally, the Varic Chancellor spoke. This is what I warned you. The humans do not need to invade. They do not need to conquer. They only need to appear. And when they appear, entire. But wise, kneel. But why? Whispered the ambassador of the Lyran Dominion. Why now? After centuries of silence, why return? No one answered. No one could. In the shadows of the chamber, spies and envoys whispered. Across the galaxy, leaders argued behind locked doors. Some said humanity wanted peace, forcing silence. Through fear. Others believed Earth sought revenge, waiting to punish those who once mocked them. A few whispered something darker, that humans no longer thought as mortals, that they had merged with the dark matter itself, becoming something beyond alien. The debate spread through the streets of 1,000 worlds. Citizens demanded answers. Soldiers sharpened their blades, but avoided the sky. Priests spoke of prophecy, of shadows that would swallow the stars. Children asked if the night itself now belonged to humans. And then, without warning, another message arrived, not from the council, not from spies, not even from survivors. From the humans. It came across every channel, on every world, at the same time. A simple broadcast, black screens, no symbols. Only one voice, calm, heavy, human. We warned you, it said. 3 words. That was all. And then silence. The chamber erupted again, but this time the fear was deeper. Those 3 words sank into the hearts of every empire. We warned you. Warnings meant intent. Warnings meant memory. Warnings meant the humans had never forgotten the past. And if the humans remembered, then every insult, every betrayal, every arrogant dismissal of Earth might now demand payment. Back in the chamber, Admiral Corin stood alone. Do you see now? He whispered. They do not need to speak much. They do not need to fight often. They only need to remind us. And they will keep reminding us until the galaxy falls silent. The council shook with fear. Some begged for peace. Some screamed for war. But for the first time in history, no one believed they had control. The humans had spoken. The humans had returned, and the galaxy trembled beneath the silence. Far away, in the black folds of space, more ripples stirred. More shadows moved. Entire fleets of dark matter warships slid quietly through the void. They did not attack. They did not conquer. They only appeared, one by one, near border worlds, near trade routes, near the homes of empires that once mocked Earth, watching, waiting, reminding, and with each sighting, the galaxy grew quieter. The noise of pride, of power, of endless war drowned beneath the silence of Earth's return. The war had not begun, but already the galaxy felt conquered. The silent war of the galaxy had always known war as fire and thunder. Fleets clashed with roaring cannons, skies burned with plasma, and worlds trembled under the screams of soldiers. But when the humans moved, there was none of that. No fire, no thunder. Only silence. The first strike came without warning. A Zolmer defense station, guarding the richest trade route in Council space, simply stopped answering calls. Patrol ships sent to investigate found nothing, no wreckage, no debris. The entire station had been erased. Not destroyed, not broken, erased, as though it had never existed. A day later, a fleet of 60 warships patrolling near the rim vanished. The same way. Sensors recorded only a ripple, a faint wave across the stars, and then silence. The galaxy panicked. On every world, whispers grew louder. The humans have begun, people said. This is the war of silence. Merchants locked their shops. Pilgrims canceled their journeys. Fleets abandoned border posts, not from orders, but from fear. Soldiers who once stood tall in polished armor now looked nervously at the stars, wondering if the next shadow would be their last dot in secret. The Council tried to fight. They sent fleets, dozens of them, to hunt down the dark matter warships. None returned. They tested new weapons, stronger shields, strange energy pulses. Nothing worked. Every report was the same. Weapons pass through them. Shields fail. Fleets collapse. We cannot touch them. Admiral Corrin's words had become prophecy. The humans could not be fought. But the strangest part was this: the humans did not conquer. They did not land on worlds. They did not enslave populations or demand surrender. They only appeared where they wished, struck once, and vanished back into the void. Each attack was like a shadow passing over the galaxy, leaving terror in its wake. This made the silence worse. At least an invader could be seen. At least an enemy with banners and armies could be understood. But how could one fight shadows? How could one fight silence itself? Then something unexpected happened. For the first time since their return, a human warship spoke. It appeared above the homeworld of the minor Trazari Empire, a planet of oceans and towers. Its people screamed as the black shadow blotted out their sun. Their defense fleets rose to meet it, trembling, knowing it was hopeless. But the warship did not fire. Instead, across every channel, in every ear, a single human voice spoke: "Leave Earth alone, or the silence will spread." The message repeated 3 times. Then the ship vanished. The Trazari fleets never moved against humans again. The message spread faster than fire. Every empire replayed the recording. The voice was calm, heavy, certain. It was not a threat shouted in anger. It was a truth, delivered with finality. Leave Earth alone, or the silence will spread. Some leaders begged to surrender at once. Others argued it was a trick. But none could deny the truth. The humans were choosing their targets carefully. They did not strike randomly. They struck at those who spoke against them, those who dismissed them, those who laughed. The galaxy was learning its lesson. On the streets of great capitals, protests broke out. Ordinary citizens demanded their rulers stop provoking Earth. Do not bring the silence here, they shouted. Do not call the shadows down on us. On backwater worlds, smugglers and wanderers began to speak of humans not as mortals, but as something more. They are not people anymore, whispered one. They are part of void itself. Another said, they command the weight of the universe. How can flesh stand against that? Fear was turning into belief. Belief was turning into worship. And worship was turning into surrender. In the council chamber, the arguments grew desperate. They are showing restraint, one leader insisted. They could destroy us all at once, yet they hold back. Perhaps they only want peace. Peace? Spat the Krell overlord. Peace made from fear is not peace. It is death waiting in silence. The Veyric chancellor raised her voice. You fools, do you not see? The humans have already won. Without landing, without conquering, without banners, they have already bent us to silence. This is their war. And they are winning. Far away, in the void between stars, the dark matter warships continued to move, always silent, always watching. Sometimes one would appear above a colony, stay for an hour without firing, then vanish. Other times a ripple passed through space, and entire fleets were gone. The galaxy waited each day for the next shadow, the next silence. And every night the stars seemed a little dimmer. On the old scout ship, the captain who had seen the first warship still could not sleep. He felt the galaxy unraveling around him. Once he had believed in fleets, in weapons, in strength. Now he believed only in silence. They are not waging war, he whispered to himself as he looked at the stars. They are teaching us. Teaching. Use fear. Teaching us to obey without chains. Teaching us that Earth does not ask. Earth commands. And in the depths of the void, as more warships stirred unseen, the galaxy began to wonder. How long before the silence swallowed everything? The last stand the galaxy had never been so afraid. Empires that once boasted of strength now whispered in shadows. Trade routes emptied. Soldiers refused to patrol the borders. And always, always, there were the ripples shadows sliding through. The void, black warships appearing and vanishing, leaving silence where life had been. But fear could not hold forever. Pride is a poison, and arrogance burns even in the dark. At last, the council called for what they named the final alliance. Every empire, every race, every fleet would join together. They would stand as one against humanity's shadows. If they did not, they believed, soon there would be nothing left to stand at all. The gathering of fleets was unlike anything seen in history. Hundreds of thousands of warships filled the skies around the red giant star of Drasil. Carriers larger than cities floated beside nimble destroyers. Swarms of drones shimmered like clouds of steel. Titans bristling with weapons aimed their cannons at the dark. The commanders gave speeches, voices shaking but proud. We will show them the galaxy does not bow, cried one. We will prove shadows cannot consume the light. The soldiers cheered, but deep in their eyes was fear. They remembered the silence. They remembered Admiral Corrin's words. They cannot be fought. Admiral Corrin himself was there, standing on the bridge of his rebuilt flagship. His armor was dented, his spirit scarred, but he had agreed to return. Not for pride, but for truth. They will come, he told his officers quietly. And when they do, we will see if unity matters, or if the silence is already written. Humans did not keep them waiting. The ripples came first. Space bent and twisted, like waves rolling across the sea of stars. Then, one by one, the warships appeared. Not a few, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They slid out of the void in perfect silence, each one blacker than night, swallowing the stars around them. They did not form ranks. They did not flash weapons. They simply floated there, watching, waiting, as though daring the galaxy to strike first. The commanders of the Alliance gave the order. Attack! And the last stand began. Light filled the system. Every weapon of every empire roared at once. Plasma storms streaked across the stars. Torpedoes blazed like suns. Energy beams cut the void with blinding light. The red giant star itself seemed to tremble from the fury unleashed. For a moment, courage surged. For a moment, the galaxy believed. But then, the light faded, and the human warships remained, untouched, unbroken, silent. The counterattack came with no fire, no sound. Ripples spread from the black fleet. Waves of silence, rolling out in every direction. Ships shattered where they stood, breaking apart without flame. Carriers split down the middle like paper. Drones winked out of existence. The Alliance screamed, shields collapsing, weapons failing. They're inside our lines. The dark matter warships flickered, appearing and vanishing, sliding through the formation as though the galaxy's greatest fleet was nothing but mist. Each ripple erased hundreds of ships. Thousands. Admiral Corrin watched in horror as the system became a graveyard. We were fools, he whispered. We thought numbers mattered. We thought light could defeat shadows. But shadows do not fight light. They consume it. Still, the Alliance fought. Desperation replaced courage. Commanders ordered ramming attacks. Pilots screamed defiance into the void. Some ships even detonated their cores, trying to take the humans with them. None succeeded. The warships remained untouchable. And then the Ji-Sashid. Voice came again, across every channel and every language, calm and unshaken. You were warned. 3 words. Nothing more. But to the soldiers of the Alliance, it felt like a death sentence. By the battle's end, silence ruled the system. Where? Once hundreds of thousands of ships had gathered, now only debris drifted. Twisted metal floated in the void, lit by the trembling red star. The proud Alliance had been erased in a single night. Admiral Corrin's flagship was among the last survivors. He stood on the bridge, surrounded by smoke and silence, his crew, broken and pale. He looked at the black shapes still drifting outside and finally understood. This was not war, he said softly. This was a lesson carved into the stars, and the galaxy will never forget it. The survivors fled back to their homeworlds. They carried no victory, only the truth. The humans could not be fought. No shield, no fleet, no alliance mattered. Against the silence, all were the same dust in the void. That night, across the galaxy, the people trembled. They knew the war was over before it had truly begun. And in every corner of space, one question burned brighter than any. Star, if the humans had done this with only a fraction of their fleet, how many more shadows still waited in the dark? The galaxy falls silent. The last stand was over. What was meant to be the greatest fleet in history, the proud final alliance, had become a graveyard of broken ships and drifting silence. Hundreds of thousands of vessels had gathered at Drasil. Only a handful limped away. Every empire had sent their best. Every commander had sworn victory. And yet, the humans had erased them without effort. The stars themselves seemed dimmer after that battle, as though the void had swallowed their courage along with their ships. The galaxy had no more armies left to send, no more pride to hide behind. Only fear remained. On every world, whispers turned into truth. Earth had won not by conquering, not by occupying, not by raising banners over alien capitals. No, Earth had won with silence. Wherever their black ships appeared, resistance died before it could form. Fleets refused to launch. Worlds refused to fight. Even the bravest soldiers looked to the sky with terror and said nothing. The galaxy was learning to kneel without being asked. In the council chamber, the leaders gathered once more. The chamber, once alive with shouting, was now quiet as a tomb. No one spoke of fleets. No one spoke of war. They only asked the same question again and again. What do the humans want? Some whispered of peace. Others whispered of vengeance. A few dared to believe humanity wanted nothing at all that silence. Itself was their only demand. The answer came soon. Across every channel, on every world, the black screens appeared again. Once more, the galaxy saw nothing but darkness. And once more, a single human voice spoke, calm, unshaken, final. Do not touch Earth. Do not test Earth. You have seen what follows when you break the silence. We do not seek your worlds. We do not seek your people. We only seek to be left alone. Remember this. Break the silence and it will return. And then the voice was gone. The broadcast ended. The screens went dark. The warships, too, began to vanish. One by one, the black shadows slipped back into the void, fading into ripples of nothing. Some disappeared near border systems. Others vanished near the heart of great empires. But in the end, they were all gone. Not destroyed, not defeated. Gone by their own choice. At first, the galaxy waited. They waited for the next strike, the next ripple, the next wave of silence. But days passed, then weeks, then months. And still, the humans did not return. Worlds breathed again, but their breaths were shallow. Fleets returned to bases, but no commander dared give orders. Trade resumed, but merchants spoke in hushed voices. The galaxy's noise came back slowly, carefully, as though afraid the shadows were still listening. Admiral Corrin lived in shame. He had fought twice and lost twice, and now he spent his days wandering the ruined shipyards of his people. He told any who would listen. They did not fight us, they taught us. They taught us fear, silence, and respect. We called them weak. We called them dreamers. But it was Earth that mastered what we could not touch. Earth that bent the void to its will. And now every star carries their shadow. Some listened. Some turned away. But none doubted his words. Generations later, children across 1,000 worlds would grow up hearing the same story. A story of black ships that swallowed stars. A story of silence that conquered where armies failed. A story of humans who returned, not as victims, but as masters of the unseen. And whenever those children looked up at the night sky, they wondered, were the humans watching still? In truth, no one could answer. On Earth, hidden deep in silence, the humans continued their work. Their fleets rested, unseen, untouchable, waiting in the shadows of dark matter. They had not demanded the galaxy's wealth. They had not raised their banners. They had only carved a single truth into the stars. Earth would not be mocked. Earth would not be threatened. The galaxy had fallen silent, not because of chains or conquest, but because fear itself was the greatest weapon humanity had ever built. And so, history closed its book with one final line whispered across the ages. Day Earth's dark matter warships arrived. The galaxy went silent,